And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I'm taking a look at Frogriders. Frogriders is a game in which there's a bunch of people. There's an elf tribe called Frogriders, and they have a battle, and they jump over other frogs. It's an abstract strategy game. Don't care one whit about the theme. In this game, it's like if you've ever been to one of those restaurants, Cracker Barrel, that has the game where you jump over the pegs until you can't jump anymore. It's kind of like that, but it's multiplayer. You're jumping over frogs, removing them from the board, but each frog you remove will give you some points. Here's how it plays. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to place all these frogs on here randomly. If you're playing with a two-player game, you won't use the dark lily pads on the outside. You'll see there's 4 different colors of frogs. Each player is going to have cards that are going to be your secret way of scoring at the end of the game. So if I have this card, that means for every set, one of each color, I get 5 points. This one here, for every 2 yellows I have, I get 6 points. For every 2 reds, I get 5 points. For every blue and brown pair, I get 3 points. Now, players can have that, and then there's also some public ones here. These are two-sided, so you can pick which one. So this says at the end of the game, whoever has the most brown frogs gets 6 points, 3 points for second place. This one here, for every yellow-blue pair, you get 3 points. Then we got some action cards over here, and the village is down here. And on a player's turn, the first thing that they must do is they must jump a frog. So at the beginning of the game, they only can jump to this space, so you would jump like this, and the frog you jump over is now yours. And that's going to open up things on the board as players are going to take their turns jumping over frogs and removing them from the board and taking those frogs. Now when you take a frog, you can put it in front of you, and if on your turn you cannot make a jump on the board, the game ends immediately and scoring happens. You can also, this is an optional thing, so you must jump a frog. You can also put a frog in the village. When you put a frog in the village, you get to take an action based on the color of the frog that you put in the village. So a yellow frog, when you put a yellow frog in the village, you can immediately make another jump. A red frog, when you put a red frog in the village, then you get to take one of the other frogs that's there. So maybe I want a yellow frog, so I can put a red frog in and take another frog back. When a blue frog goes into the village, you get one of these privilege cards here. Now the privilege cards are going to be cards that will either help you during the game or at the end of the game. So for example, this one here is worth -2 points at the end of the game, but it acts as if I have 2 more blue frogs, which hopefully will counter those -2 points there. This one here is worth 2 points at the end of the game, and from now on, I can jump diagonally. So I can jump like this. It kind of gives me a special ability. This one here says every time my frog jumps, I jump a frog onto a spot where there is a flower, I get a point. This one here says at the end of the game, all brown frogs are worth 1 victory point. They're already worth 1 victory point, but this would make them worth an extra victory point. And so there's different cards. Each card at the bottom tells you how many in the deck there is of that type. So this one, for example, says when I jump a frog, I can keep the frog that I jumped with rather than the one that I jump over. And there's all sorts of different special cards here. This one's just simply 4 points, nothing else. So that's it. You'll play until one person cannot jump anymore. Then you get a point for every brown frog. You compare these. You look at the secret card that you kept at the beginning of the game. You get 2 and get to pick one to keep. And whoever has here's the secret cards. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. So that's Frogriders. It's kind of an intriguing game in the sense that when I first played it, I did not like it. I played it and I thought, this just felt super random. Wasn't really sure that the point cards were balanced, but I played it some more, and as time went by, I liked it more. Now, I will say, I like it best, I think, with 2 or 3 players. 4 players is a little bit more chaotic, but with 2 players, you can plan your moves. If I jump here, he can jump that. I mean, I think it's really good with 2 players. And with 3, too, because, again, only 2 people are going between you. The privilege cards are fun, especially if you get one that lets you do diagonal jumps or keep the frog, or something that gives your movement on the board more meaning. The 3 different color frogs are also interesting. The yellows, you have to make an extra move. Is that worth it? Not normally, but sometimes it lets you, maybe make the move that gives you a frog that you need for a set. Changing the red one in. The blue ones are great, right? Because you're like, oh, you get those privilege cards. They're great. But as you give up these blues, you'll be like, oh, but I keep giving up blue frogs, and I need blue frogs to score some of these sets. Games are going to change based on the cards that people have, and so that's interesting too. It's not a heavy game by any means. It's very light. It's simple. Games take like 20 minutes to play. You can play through really quickly. I mean, even if you sit there and think, it's still going to be a fairly quick game. Components are nice, although probably too few components for the size of this box. But the theme works as a nice way to look at the game. I mean, again, it's an abstract game. But the little frog riders are cute little plastic pieces, and moving them around is simple and fun. So this game has more to it than I thought, and yet still not that much. It's still a light, easy-going game. But as time went by, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. If I move here, I'll get this. And then he'll take that, which will give me this. And I need to sit there and think about these sets. You're going to initially be like, oh, I'll turn in frogs. Definitely turn in frogs and get these special abilities. But no, you actually are trying to collect sets. And brown frogs themselves, not usually part of a set, but worth 1 point each. A lot of them can really swing the tide in your favor, too. Nice give and take. Easy game. Frogriders. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!